So another week of college football is in the books. We've got another Dr. Pepper drive to the national championship. And here we are. We're in November now with games coming up this weekend. And 6 of the top 7 teams in the BCS standings are undefeated. Stanford's the outlier here. They're sitting at number 5, 7-1. When you look at the rankings, a lot of very good football teams that are able to stay undefeated to this point. A lot of big games coming up. Alabama remains undefeated, 8-0 at number 1. Number 2, you've got Oregon coming off of that huge win against UCLA, pulled away late. They're 8-0 as well, sitting at the number 2 spot. Florida State is at number 3 at 7-0. Number 4, Ohio State. Talked about Stanford sitting there at 5 at 7-1. Then Baylor. Haven't played a tough schedule at this point, but putting up video game numbers. Very intriguing team. We're going to find out a lot about the Baylor squad that's 7-0 and just absolutely blowing defenses away. But they've got a brutal November schedule. We'll see if they can continue to put up those points and remain undefeated down the stretch. They could be an interesting team to keep an eye on as we get closer and closer to the BCS National Championship game. Now, I mentioned the 6 of the top 7 undefeated. The 7th team is Miami. They've had their struggles the last couple of weeks. They have a lot of offensive issues in terms of their wide receivers and injuries. I'm not sure Stephen Morris, the quarterback, is still healthy, but this is the big test. It's the primetime game this week. Florida State hosting Miami, 2 of the undefeated that we talked about in the 6 of the top 7, and it's an 8 p.m. ABC game. It's going to be a big one. Now, Florida State is playing its first monster game at home. Remember, they had to go to Death Valley for that impressive win against Clemson, and Miami's got to go on the road and try to patch things together offensively and try to play a lot better than they have on the defensive side. I mean, Vegas right now has this as a 3-touchdown mismatch. When I look at it in terms of one thing that I'm really going to be following throughout the game, I think it's Jameis Winston, obviously at the quarterback position for Florida State, and his wide receivers. Every tape I've popped in this season, it seems that they're exploiting defenses that struggle to do 2 things. First, locate the ball in the air. Second, tackle after the catch. You got Kelvin Benjamin, who's 6'5" at wide receiver, doing a great job elevating, and Jameis Winston putting the ball up for him. And you've got a guy like Rashad Green, who's great after the catch. Quickness and speed, the acceleration. You've got to take good pursuit angles. You also have a guy in Nick O'Leary at the tight end position. They move around, create some mismatches. He's running over defensive backs. So it's going to be critical that Miami is in position when the ball is up in the air to go contend for the football, and then critical when they do allow a catch that they are gang tackling and taking great pursuit angles in terms of getting there and making sure that if the first guy misses, then there's a second, third, fourth defender in position. Don't be surprised if you see less blitzing and less concern with pass rush. I think the key is send 3 or 4 after Jameis Winston, be able to drop 7 and 8 in coverage, play more zone coverage so you're facing the quarterback, you see the ball go up in the air, and then you're in position to go wrap up and limit the yards after the catch. Rashad Green can't have a 7-yard catch that he turns into a 72-yard touchdown. Miami can't keep pace with that, so they've got to force a lot of long drives and make sure that Winston can finish drives by executing in 10, 12-play drives. So it's going to be very interesting. Miami's got to play the game of its season to even keep this one close. But it is the primetime game, as I mentioned, ABC, Saturday night. We're going to find out a lot about these 2 football teams. We'll see you next week in the Dr. Pepper Drive to the National Championship.